Welcome back, everybody, to Ziggy and Pyrin play Pokemon Soul Silver. Last episode what did we do? Oh, we beat the 4th gym. We're essentially a quarter of the way through the game. What? The progression in Pokemon Soul Silver is like a little wacky in comparison to the other ones because the game goes on post Elite Four. But yeah, we're making progress, making some mad time. Proud of us.
Speed run.
Speed run of Pokemon. That's actually a thing.
I'm sure it is.
It's unbelievable, and I don't know how anyone would do it.
It's unbelievable.
I actually don't know how that song goes. Other than
Me either, really.
That one hook.
Yeah.
That's all. That's the whole song in my mind.
Speaking of that song, have you heard of and or seen any of the show that came out recently called The Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt?
No. Never even heard of it.
Okay, well, it just was released on Netflix last week, and it's Tina Fey, basically. Tina Fey's new show. And,
okay. Emily was telling me about this.
It's freaking good. And that reminded me of that because at some point she's like, well, okay, so the premise, without giving too much away, is that the main character, is one of 4 women who was being held in a bunker underground by like a crazy
Cult, right?
Cultist guy, yeah, and his name is Reverend Richard Wayne Gary Wayne, and I'm not gonna give it away, but he's played by someone who's really awesome.
Oh, I never heard of Pokemon.
And so he holds them underground under the assumption that the apocalypse is happening on, it's like June 6th of 2006 because it's 6606, and he holds them there for like 15 years, I think 15 years.
Holy shit.
And then basically they get out at the beginning of the first episode, and so then it's just her like adjusting to everything, and the media called them mole women. And so anyway, so she's like really behind on a lot of stuff in terms of like pop culture and in terms of like, I don't know what things are and what things do and the things that are real or not based on what little she learned about anything from being down there.
Right.
Anyway, at some point she's like listening to music and that song is playing. I forget if I feel like she might even be listening to like a Walkman, and that song comes on and it's kind of just playing in the background, and there's like a second where she sees something and she makes a weird face at it and it shows whatever it was and she's like, unbelievable, and keeps on walking. And it's like not actually that funny, but it's still really funny in context for whatever reason.
It's great. Now, Emily told me that she was super excited about that show because she's a huge Tina Fey fan, and she was super excited to watch it. And she said it was pretty good, but that she like marathoned it, and it wasn't as good as she was hoping it would be. Like, it's good, but it's not like fantastic.
Huh.
Yeah.
I was kind of the other way around, where like I saw the trailer and I was like, yeah, it'll probably be pretty good. And then Kiri started watching it and she was like, you have to. And then, yeah, I just watched like all of it.
Oh meow. Shit, it's a Meowth.
And I really liked it. I mean, I like Netflix's MO that they do now, where they release all their shows at once, or all the episodes like at once. Thing. Yeah.
They know. They know their audience though.
Yeah, absolutely. But I don't know. There are a couple of things about it that are interesting. One, which is not really an actual gripe, is that like you watch it and then it's over, and there's significantly longer wait time because like
between everything, yeah.
You watch it in like 3 days instead of like a few months.
Right.
But also like I read an article about it recently that was a fair point. I didn't agree with what the article was saying, but it was saying that because it's made and released all at once, there's no room to take any criticism from like Tina Fey's perspective, right? Like during production, because like it's done, it's finished, it's complete, and then it's all released at once. So there's no way to respond, or there's no way to calculate the response at all.
Right.
You know, which I think maybe I found this to be more true in other shows, like regularly released shows, more than in this one, which is a similar feeling that it sounded like Emily had, where like it started in a place and then it got kind of derailed, or like it didn't explore it to its fullest extent or its fullest potential.
Totally.
But I felt that, first of all, that Tina Fey's humor is so like broad, like it's so not broad, but it's so it covers so much ground that there doesn't really have to be a plot at all. So like the fact that she's a mole woman is mostly a character trait more than like the story about that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like the trial comes into play later in the season, the trial for like the Reverend.
Right.
And then you get more about what happened in the past and whatnot. But like there are full-on episodes that are like not about that at all. They're just about like Gimme living in New York City, and that's it.
Right.
And I think Tina Fey is really good at like covering so many topics and still being hilarious while all of that is just kind of there and exists in the background.
Totally.
And if you liked 30 Rock, then like watch it because it's like exactly the same kind of humor.
I actually I've never really watched 30 Rock.
That's all right.
Don't let Emily hear that, because again, she's a huge Tina Fey fan. But like, that's one of those things where people are like, dude, I watched the hell out of 30 Rock, and I guess I just missed it. I wasn't watching on TV at the time that it came out, and so it was just like not something that was in my head, or like I was thinking about. But I don't know. I don't know how I feel about like the idea of not having criticism when your show is like all released at once. And I don't know if that's a negative or positive thing either. Like,
I think it depends on what you're focusing on.
Right. Because like when I think about like long running shows, you can definitely see how like the fan base, when the fan base like changes or has a certain opinion on things, then it like completely changes, can completely change episodes or like change the moods of things, right? But like I'm trying to think, like it can also be really good though, or like because then you kind of get feedback on how you could improve the show, I guess. Like you can get better ideas from like what people have been suggesting, or like where people will be like, this would be a cool idea for an episode, and then like a creator comes out and does something kind of similar to it, but not necessarily exactly the same. Stuff like that, where there's a little bit of creator audience feedback. That's not necessarily a bad thing. But then I think of like, what else does that? Sherlock almost, where like, I think that they probably do all the shooting around one time, and then they release the episodes. I know that they release them over a separate period of time, but I don't think it's like they release an episode and are filming the next one when one releases. Like I think they're all filmed at the same time.
Yeah, the seasons anyway.
Right. They're been on the whole season. And that show's super good, and it's all released at once. So,
it's not all released at once.
Well, no, it's not all released at once, but it's like in the
it's
same.
It's all done at once. You mean?
Yeah, it's all done at once.
Right.
Where my brain was going with that. And so it's like it's the more pure version of of the director's image, like what he wanted of his vision.
Right.
And so you get like a really like pure version of what the show was supposed to be. I don't know. I think I kind of prefer it in the separate like filmed beforehand, because then it's not like if people are like, oh, it's getting really good reviews, we have to write in some way to like make another season.
Exactly, or like
all the time.
Yeah, and then they like draw in things like things for the fans, which sometimes is awesome, but sometimes it's just like campy.
Need to be there. Yeah, it's more often than not campy. Supernatural is like my main thing that comes to mind right now. Is like
but Supernatural like isn't serious at all.
No, not at all.
Like it doesn't take itself seriously at all.
But I think that like there is so much fan service that goes on, and they're obviously not trying to hide it or anything, but like it's so campy that sometimes I'm like,
yeah,
it's hard for me sometimes. Like,
yeah, I understand.
Ugh. I like what the guys do, man. Sometimes just a little too much.
Yeah, that's true. What was I gonna say? Oh, I think maybe also my take on the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt is that like I have so much like love for Tina Fey's humor and respect for her as a person and as a creator and whatnot that I just like don't even care. Like even if I saw a part of an episode or an entire episode that I was like, oh, that wasn't very good in some way, my brain just completely rejects that because I'm like, it just doesn't have any weight at all because Tina Fey's so great.
Right.
And there are so many other things about it that I love.
And I get that a lot. We used one moo milk. What are you using items for? Goddamn trainer out in the wild. But I don't know, and I think that's why I gave Emily's criticism so much like weight, is because she was like, "Oh, I'm a huge Tina Fey fan, but I like didn't necessarily really enjoy this that much."
Interesting.
Really made me think about it because I'm like, well, if it was through bias, she would have been like, I loved it because it was Tina Fey, as opposed to like, I loved it because it was a well-written like show. Really, well, I'm not saying it's not well-written, but like up to the standards that she expected, I guess.
Interesting.
Right.
Huh.
So I almost take negative criticism where there's positive bias more seriously than like positive criticism where there's positive bias.
Right.
I guess that goes either way though, where you're like, I really value that opinion more if it's contrary to what you normally think, because that means you thought about it more, which might not even be true.
And it depends on what you want to get out of it too. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if you're going into it like, oh my god, I want like a show. I don't know how to describe it really, but like I guess I went into it more like a sure, I'll watch it, as opposed to like, yeah, I'm stoked. And I think not just in this scenario, just in general, if you're looking to get something out of something and then it doesn't provide that to you.
Right. Going into it with previous expectations in general.
Sure. Though, as with anything, I totally understand if someone doesn't feel it or doesn't get, all of it out of it like I did. But one thing that was interesting is that I read an article about it that was less about the show and more just about Tina Fey, but it was using that as an example largely. Was her like, I don't know, the article was kind of dumb, but it was like writing about Tina Fey and about her like how often she uses race as a focal point for jokes. And my reaction to the article was basically like, she doesn't use race more often than anything else. She makes fun of everything all the time. Like just within this show, I was going through as I was reading that and thinking of all the different things that she like poked fun at, and it like I can think of so many different things like race and gender and homosexuality and like policing. Like there's commentary on just the ability of police to do their job, and like just New York City as a whole, and like I don't know, she just covers so much ground that I don't think it's fair to critique one aspect, totally. Especially when it's humor.
And I think there's a big thing to be said for like just people going and taking out what's the most controversial thing that you can pick out of something and making that into the story.
Yeah. And if that's what you're looking for too, because some people do that too, where they're so focused on whatever their issue is that if there's like the one joke about it, then they get all like offensive. Right,
exactly. So yeah, I think that's interesting. I think that also goes pretty deep into like, I don't know, like stand-up comedy and just comedy in general. It's just being like, at what point do you cross the line, and how much variation allows it, makes it okay to say certain things, and what race or gender is it okay to say jokes about other races and your own gender, your own race, things like that. There's so many like weird taboos that we like just put in for no reason, or maybe we put in for a reason that it just seems like, this man wants my phone number so we can talk about Professor Oak. Dude, I don't need to give you my phone number to like fanboy over like an old man. It's just not gonna happen. But like, I don't know, I think that's a really, I remember really wanting to be a comedian as a small child, just because I thought that'd be really cool. I don't have the personality for it. I just don't have like I can't like get up on a stage and be like, look at me be funny. It just wouldn't work out.
Right.
And it's a hard job. Like,
oh, absolutely.
You get so much criticism and flack, and it's got like one of the hardest like starting places for any job. But just thinking about like all the things that you have to be conscious of, and like when you talk about certain taboos,
Right.
and like whether or not it's better to talk about taboos or like ignore them. But if you're like not ignore them, but dance around them, because but is dancing around them more offensive than actually just straight up talking about them?
Right.
And
when it's used in humor too, it's like it's a good point to I guess bring up that it's humor. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
right.
Like if you make a comment, like the thing that comes to mind is I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Jon Stewart went on this talk show, like a political talk show, in like the early 2000s, and the show. And tell me if this sounds familiar to you, but the show was I don't actually remember the name of it, but it was a like a debate show basically between these two guys that were just talking, like they'd bring up political things and then have arguments about them for the sake of having debate. And he basically went on the show to be featured on the show and ended up just being like, you guys suck. Like, you guys aren't real, and you guys are like everything that is what is wrong with the media, like representing everything. And they're like, well, no, like we're doing political commentary and we're debating issues. And he's like, that would be great. Like, if that were true, that would be awesome. But that's not what happens. And they're like, oh, well, you said this and you said that on your show. And he's like, oh, so you use your standard of your product that you put out to the media is based on a comedy show.
Right.
And they're like, well, but, and he's like, no, like my show is written by idiots and it's for idiots. Like, I'm not making actual commentary because it's comedy.
Right.
And I think that's a really good point.
Yeah. No, and I that's a weird thing that like it all comes down to like translation and like intent, I guess. Right? And I think this is a really common thing you see on the internet, but like the use of irony, or not irony. What is it irony? No, I'm being not it's like facetiousness, right? Where you're being like sarcastic.
Yeah.
And like typing it over the internet. I saw a friend of mine I was talking with, and I don't remember what the subject was. I'm not gonna get into it because there's no point. I don't know if I should heal because all my Pokemon are like almost dead, but whatever.
Do it.
But I don't know. I'd have to go all the way back to the last time. I don't want to do that, so I'm just gonna switch Fred to the front. But I don't remember what the topic was. Doesn't matter what the topic was. But it was just like she obviously disagreed with the point that was being made in the statement. Or obviously agreeing, but in order to emphasize agreement, she, she said like something about it, the opposite basically, but like to a really drastic extreme that is very uncharacteristic of her, right? Like, so just being very sarcastic, but it was through typed format, and then like all these people that I assume she was either friends with or knew somehow were like, I can't believe you would say that. Like, what kind of terrible person are you? Like, started freaking out at her basically.
Right.
Because she was like, well, why would you ever think something like that? Not understanding that it was supposed to be a joke in the first place. And then, like, someone else chimed in and was, like, on the opposite side of the person that was arguing with her. So it was, like, on the same side as her sarcastic comment. And then it just became, like, this huge, like, in comments discussion about, like, the ethics of whatever it was. And it was just like, oh, my God. This is insane. And then I just like turned off Facebook for a little while.
Right. I'm just going away. Yeah, man.
Yeah. It was rough. Anyway, we're pretty much done with this episode. I'm gonna heal up my Pokemons first, and then maybe talk to these people in the Pokemon Center, and then we'll probably be done with this one.
Imagine just picking up your fire weasel and just like holding him out straight in front of you, just like picking him up like it's a weasel. 'Cause he's pretty damn big.
He's huge. He's like you probably need both arms to hold him.
He'd be like a well, I was gonna say like a dog, but like a large wiener dog.
Yeah, that's what I imagine too. Like a large wiener dog's an apt comparison. He kind of reminds me of like a ferret.
Yeah, he's just, I mean, in terms of size.
Wait, what is this? Oh, I initiated a battle. We're gonna do this battle first.
Alright.
Oh, I think
there
this is
are
like
some
when
visual... Go ahead.
It's the thing where like they release. You can like put a little sticker on your Pokeball, and then when you release the Pokemon, it does like a little particle effect, like that one. Just released a bunch of flowers when a tree sent her out.
Dude, Blossom is real cute.
Blossom is adorable. It's the preferred evolution of Gloom. I say it's Gloom.
I'm not sure.
Oddish, Gloom, and then Blossom, or whatever the other one is. It smells really bad and looks like that plant that smells like rotten meat.
I don't know, man.
Yeah, I don't remember it either. Anyway, that's gonna do it for this episode. I hope you guys all enjoyed it. We'll explore this town. I think see what gym is in it, and then conquer it as we always do. I might train some of my Pokemans because, as you can see, we have like some level 20s, but we also have our like level 18, level 19, and then Krios. But who cares? He's gonna get replaced eventually anyway. Yeah.
Sea God, who cares?
So we'll probably maybe train Simon, Peg, and Iz next video, and then we'll go see what the gym has in store for us. But you're all awesome and amazing, and I hope that you come and stop by and watch the next one.
Thank you so much.